Okay, it is 8:31 p.m. Central Standard Time, Tuesday, April the 13th. Welcome to week two. Week two, which means that we're almost like 1/3 of the way through this course when you get to week two. So I encourage students to keep up with me so that they can know what is going on. Um, those of you who are in Minnesota, well, you guys are all in the news now with the Chauvin trial, and now with this um, young man who happens to have the same last name as mine, uh, Wright, but no relation that I know of, up in um, I think it's called Brooklyn Center, um, which is near Minneapolis. I was told I think it's still in Hennepin County as well, which is I think the biggest county in Minnesota. But uh, if you pay close attention to these cases, you learn a lot about, particularly if you're going to go into law enforcement, about what not to do and what kind of mistakes not to make. And so it's like um, learning what we talk about in class. Remember, I talked about I produce ethical, professional, and educated students. And we talk about dealing with diversity and all those different things as transferable skills as we did the first week. So all those come into play in your careers. So we're hoping that this gets fixed. I've been getting some feedback from several of my students, former students, who are on Facebook with me, who have shared their comments about it and so forth and so on. But it is something that it's my job to teach professionalism, to make sure that, and that's why departments are now moving toward hiring more educated individuals, because there's more litigation that comes from individuals who are not as educated, and then you got to make sure that you got the right temperament um, to do this kind of job. So it's very important. You've got to understand diversity, and you've got to operate with empathy with people. And I say it all the time, all the time. So that's a statement of fact. So, all right, well, let's get on with the module for this week. I'm going to do something a little different. I spent a little time working with a student who is struggling, and I've noticed from looking at the Rasmussen app, where there are students who are really having struggles um, with this, because the view that I show you, this is the faculty view. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go just for a minute and show you well, I'll show you in just a few minutes. So week one assignments for this class, I've graded them. There were some of you that I had sent messages saying that you need to submit it in Word document, but that's because of the fact that the system that they gave us, there was something that they never taught us about that was right in front of our face. So we as faculty, so thanks to one of the students in class who made a ticket with Personal Support Center, they were able to uh, help me to get a conclusion about why that happened. So I graded everybody who turned them in already. Um, and then I will be working on discussion posts this week. Normally they're done by Friday, but there's not as many students in this class. So, all right, so let's look at week two. Equal protection under the law. And I'm going to start out by talking about the um, the written assignments for this week, but I'm going to do the introduction to the course project in just a few minutes. But I'm going to talk about the first written assignment, which is this one. So what you're going to do, and I emailed you the rubric. They don't have the rubric in this particular course included. And because it was a new course, I didn't know exactly how to add it into it, but they showed us recently, so I'll be doing it next time I teach it. So what you have to do is look at the Fourth Amendment. Remember we talked about the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment is primarily dealing with search and seizure. And review some cases and secondary sources. And after you've extensively reviewed this amendment and the law surrounding it, pick an area within the Fourth Amendment that you would like to research further. And write a one-page paper, which should be double-spaced. It should be APA. It should have a cover page. It should have citations in the body and references at the end. One page, not a half a page, and it should be double-spaced, and it should be in a Word document form. Okay? And I do run the papers through Grammarly. I kind of gave you a break on Grammarly for week 1 because many of you would have gotten high Grammarly percentages, but because you copied and pasted the preamble, which was fine for this assignment, but don't use a lot of the materials from these instructions in your paper because it'll cause your Grammarly percentage to go up. I'm more interested in your critical skills. So then submit your written assignment and make sure that you follow the rubric that I sent you which basically covers it, and it tells you the length of the paper. The last one didn't have a length, but this one does. Most of them will. And then do it in the form of a Word document as you normally do. Okay, and of course the due date is the 18th. Okay. All right. Let's close that. All right. And so you get a maximum of 100 points. And it says, when it says unlimited attempts allowed, it means you can do as many attempts as you want to get it right before the due date without losing points. Okay. So the Fourth Amendment text is right here in the information. Now I'm going to show you something in just a few. So let's go over, because this is going to be this is the initiation, your first week assignment that you have for the course project that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Your next assignment is briefing a case. And the case you're going to brief is Terry versus Ohio. This is the court official citation. And you're going to follow the directions for briefing a case given in a briefing a case page, which I'll show you in a few minutes. And you should have a cover page as well. I am really, okay, when we get to the instructions. So again, that is due Sunday as well, 80 points for that. All right. And then you have your discussion post. And then these are the issues right here. And make sure your responses are, up to par. You know at this point how to write your discussion post. And the initial post is due tonight, and your reply post is due Saturday. And I do encourage you to reply to more than one post, but make sure it's professional and courtesy. So it is due, it says participate by the 17th. Now, let me explain why it says that. The 17th is Saturday. That is the date that your reply post is. And what it's saying is this: if you do participate by the 17th, then you do your initial post, you will lose points because of the course calendar, which when we look at it in a few minutes, it'll remind you that your initial posts are due, along with the announcement that I'm going to show you in just a few minutes. Okay. And then, so anyway, some people have posted already. All right. So that's the first one. The second one deals with prisoner equality. So the question comes up in prisoner right cases: do you think inmates have the right to file as many petitions as they please? Would a limit force inmates to be more selective? Why or why not? The question is, do you think that there is a violation of their constitutional rights by limiting them? Recognize that with discussion posts, that until you put your first initial for your post in, you will not see anything. It'll look like there's none there, because a couple students have asked me about that. It's called post first. I talked about that last week. Okay. And then of course, your live classroom lecture, which in that case you'll put the the key phrase that I give you or comment I give you today. So then we're going to talk about equal protection under the law and briefing the case. Okay. We're going to talk about the course project first. But I want to show you something before I do that. When you get your assignments, to go back because I got out of the class, this is what you see. I have to enter what we call student mode. This is what it looks like when you first open it up. And it has each of, the module and stuff like that. Okay. All right. But then going here, you click on that. Overview and activities, course project, just like we had before. But now let me show you how you do your written assignments. So when you click on this, it takes you to a page that says view assessment down at the bottom, because otherwise it looks like, but you got to click on view assessment. Some of you figured this out already. When you click on view assessment, it opens up the assignment that you have to do, and it gives you the instructions that you saw earlier. That's how you see it in student review. Okay. And then you the assessment due date, and then you put your attempt in, because you're not going to see any here because I'm not a student. Okay. So the same thing. With this assignment. Okay, same thing. And then it tells you what to do, the same thing and stuff. So that's how you see it. So it's the exact same thing, so that you're not confused. And then of course, then you do the submission there. So that's your view. Same thing with discussions. So you do what you have to do, and then you type what goes in there, and then you know what to do from there. All right. So that's how it works. That's how the system works. I didn't go over this last week because I didn't think there was a need to, but I found out there was a need to. Okay, live classroom. So you view assessment again, and you put your answer in and then hit submit. That's it. Simple as that. All right. Uh, so now, before I get to all of this other stuff, I want to go back. I want to get out of student preview. Let me exit it. Exit the preview. Okay. All right. So on the left side, these are things that you may or may not see, but tools and books, you already know how to find your book. We've had this discussion already. Somebody asked how to find my number, my phone number. It's on the syllabus. If you go to the syllabus, there's my phone number right there, and it tells you you can text me, call me any hour of the day except the 25th hour of the day. Okay. Now, regarding the calendar, there it is right up there at the top. Click on it, and I like the month view. And it tells you this is where we are today. Your initial post due tonight. There should be 2 of them, but there are 2 initial posts. There are 2 initial posts, and then there are 2 discussion posts. So what I'm going to do is in real time add that to that. Add an event. Okay, that will be starting. Okay, it's on the 6th. Okay, let's start it with the 13th. Okay, and the event is initial post. Once I do this, it won't have to be done again. Repeat event, repeat weekly, and on this date, which is May, of course, ends the 12th, 11th. Okay, that actually it ends the 11th. Yep. I know I'm in May because of the fact that starts in April, goes to the 13th, goes to the 20th, goes to the 27th, goes to May 4th, and then May 11th. That's why. That's why. Okay. Yeah. No, I was trying to put it in for the whole course, and I think I already had it in for I think I already had it in for that date there. But anyway, because a quarter will end. All right. There's something missing here on this calendar. I think it's the 7th. There's going to be a live lecture on the 7th. But anyway, I'll come back and get that in there. I'll get that in there later. So anyway, just for now, so you'll be aware that we'll have one lecture that'll be the Friday. And the reason why it's that Friday is because the course ends on the 11th. Okay. That's it for the calendar. So going back again to this week, where I can make sure you are. So both initial posts are due tonight. Your live lecture is right now. Both your reply posts are due on Saturday. And then your written assignments are all due on the 18th. Okay. So you got the due dates there. Any questions about the due dates? Okay. It's pretty clear since I did it that way. All right. So now let's do the announcement, and then we'll go into the module itself. I hope you have a chance to go and get this announcement and look at this adversity as the springboard to success on your own. Take time, look at that. That's not a grade, but it'll tell you a lot. Tell you a lot. Here's your week 2 announcement. And for this week, let's move this out of the way. Equal protection under the law. And so you're going to have chapter 4 and then appendix E. I sent you the PowerPoints for chapter 4. There is no PowerPoint for appendix E of the text. And complete the activities, equal protection under the law, and briefing a case. We'll deal with those. And then it talks about when the lectures are. And then it talks about discussion assignments that are due, that are, okay. Is it really equal? Prisoner equality. And then that's due, as I said, tonight. Initial posts and reply posts are due Saturday. Then I remind you to check your rubrics, which I sent you them. Be sure to complete the assignments, briefing a case, and the Fourth Amendment project as well, which I'm going to talk about. The topics, I've already gone over the assignments, and my motto, adversity is a springboard to success, is contained in that video that I told you about a few minutes ago. And so the announcements, I have them up here. If it gets too busy, I'm going to take down, I will leave the welcome announcement up. I'll leave this up as well. Reading assignment formats, I might take and move week 1 out. But the reason why I left it in there is because some students had trouble last week. So I eventually will take those out. I'll take them out, they'll be hidden. All right. So now let's get to talking about the issues here at hand. Okay, just for your overview, so that you understand, is that we're going to deal with the difference between the balance between federal and state law, discrimination on race and gender equality, the importance of research, APA citations. You already know that. We've covered that. So then these are your assignments. You're reading, and then this is the lesson content, which we're going to be talking about in just a second. And then these are your assignments, your course project, and then discussions, 2 discussion posts, your live activity, and then your brief. Okay, that's how that works. All right, let's go back. So the course project, each week you're going to have a different issue to deal with, and the due dates are going to be given each week. And notice how this pretty much works. And then they kind of like change this. It says the assignments noted in bold are on the timeline. And so topic selection is week 2. And so what they did was they took all of them out except that. So week 2, you do topic assignment. And next week, you'll deal with case law and secondary source research. Week 4, current topics. Number 5, an interview. And then the interview also will have an alternate assignment in it. You will see when we get to week 5, because of the COVID issue, we have an alternate assignment that I came up with that has helped a lot of students to do, since it's hard getting people to interview. And then the final project for week 6. Okay. So you have to make sure you satisfy these. Choose an aspect of the Fourth Amendment. That's what's going to happen this week. Make sure you research it, providing cases and secondary resources. Cases are the actual court cases. Secondary resources are like law review articles and other sources. I don't have to tell Amanda. She knows all that because she was in the paralegal program. Right, Amanda? Yeah, I hope you don't mind me calling your name out. I have to call you out because you're the one student who's in here. Okay. The point of the matter is that so then discuss a relevant recent event or case that involves the area that you chose now, and offer your opinion of the law in that area in its current state and what changes you might make and why. And then this one has to do with the interview, which once you get to that one, which will be week 5, talk to a judge, a state attorney, police officer, public defender, and interview them regarding the Fourth Amendment issue that you focused on, that you chose, and use this interview as a secondary source throughout your paper. Now, again, some students will not be doing the interview because it's not that easy. Okay, and then it tells you you'll need to contact and schedule an interview. Your interview can be completed on the phone or in person. Your final paper, which will be for week 6, will be 6 to 8 pages long, not including the cover page and reference page. Okay, and should follow the APA guidelines and citation reference as well, providing the cover page and reference page using proper APA. And then each assignment will be graded independently because of the weeks. All right. So that's the course project. So the number one thing that you need to consider right now is the assignment that I talked about earlier, and that is choosing your topic. Then when we get to briefing a case, here's some instructions for how to brief. Now, this is an example using the Miranda case, and it tells you how to brief. And it says, summarize the facts. Don't copy and paste from another source. List what happened in the lower court, just a few details. Issues. What is the question facing the court? Form the issue questions in a way that can be answered yes or no, but don't stop there. Yes or no, and then elaborate. How did the court answer the issue, yes or no? Don't stop there and answer the question in little details. Reasoning. This is the most important section. Explain the reasoning behind the holding. And then I always encourage students to pay attention and provide the concurring and dissenting opinions. It says only if you believe they are important. I'm going to tell you up front, um, they are important. And the reason why a concurring decision is, and what a concurring opinion is where the court had people that did not agree with the majority of the court. They came down with they agreed with the court, but for different reasons. Let me put it that way. And it's good to include those. Dissenting opinions is those that disagree with the decision of the majority. Now, dissenting opinions are very important because dissenting opinions sometimes are used in future cases to help overturn that case. For example, the famous constitutional case of Plessy versus Ferguson. That's a case that I always talk about. And you ever heard of that case, Plessy versus Ferguson? Yes, that's usually the example that we use. And in that case, it promoted segregation and allowed separate but equal facilities. And the Jim Crow laws were able to stand under that. But in 1954, a famous case came along that reversed it, because in the dissenting opinion of Plessy versus Ferguson was some language that took issue with separate but equal. And then, do you know that case? It was before your time. I was 4 when it came out. Do you know the Supreme Court case argued by Justice Thurgood? Well, Thurgood Marshall was a lawyer then, and later he became a justice. You know the name of that case that reversed Plessy versus Ferguson? Do you know? Young lady's first name was Deborah, and her last name was Brown. Remember Brown versus the Board of Education? That's it. That's the case that reversed it. But what I'm saying is that the language in that case, some of the language in that case that helped to reach that conclusion, yeah, that's okay. It's well, you're talking to you got a lawyer for a professor and a political science major, so you can expect me to be up on all of that. But the point of the matter is that dissenting opinion in Plessy versus Ferguson was utilized and argued successfully by Thurgood Marshall as a lawyer, and then Thurgood Marshall later became a Supreme Court justice, um, and he was involved in many cases. I think he was involved in the Miranda case at that time as well. But he was the first African American Supreme Court justice. Okay, so that's why it's so important to do that. I'm also going to send you some material about how to write briefs that you can supplement with that in an email after this class. Okay. Any questions about uh, brief writing? No, no, you don't. Okay. I guess I was saying that rhetorically. I wasn't even asking you, Amanda. I should let you lecture on that one. As a matter of fact, you could talk to the students about it. But anyway, don't everybody in this class reach out to Amanda for help doing this assignment either. Yeah, the school named after Justice Thurgood Marshall is down there. I got several good friends that went to that school. Yeah, yeah. I forgot you're down there in Houston. Yeah, yeah, it is a really good school. It is an excellent school. Excuse me. Yeah, they had a good movie that came out this past year with what's the guy's name that played in Black Panther that passed away. Can't think of his name, but you know who I'm talking about. He he played Thurgood Marshall in the movie Marshall that was out a couple of years ago, you know. So, but anyway, so that's that. All right. So now one of the last things I want to talk about is um, how equal protection of the law operates. Let's go to it. So the 14th Amendment sets forth that all people should be treated equally under the law. And if this works the way it's supposed to, you're supposed to be able to click on this and see the 14th Amendment. And yeah, I have to talk to him about that. They got to do something about that because it says it's not found anymore. But it used to be in here. I think last time I had to put it in. But here it is, actually. So they put it in this time. So here it is right here. The Fourth Amendment. It says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction are citizens of the United States and the state in wherein they reside. No state shall enforce any law that abridges the privileges and immunities of citizens of the United States, nor any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. And what that means when we talk about the uh, uh, the due process part is that before you are uh, found guilty or convicted, or before you have property seized or taken away, you're entitled to a hearing of some sort or trial where you have a chance to produce evidence uh, to make your points, and then the other side produce their points. In criminal cases, due process is granted by what we call, well, it's done in civil cases too, this thing called discovery or disclosure. You know about that one, don't you, Amanda? Which one do you guys use? Did you use discovery or did you use disclosure or both? Yeah. Because they're both the same thing. Some jurisdictions use discovery. And what it simply means is that the other side has to produce evidence or give you an opportunity to have what we call depositions, except pretty much in most criminal cases, you don't really have depositions. In civil cases, you do, but in cases where the other side, the prosecution has evidence, they have to produce what evidence that they have. And if they have anything that's exculpatory, yeah, yeah. Well, in our jurisdiction in Illinois, we use this discovery. But yeah, you're right. It is in many places disclosure. And the whole thing is discover means to discover it. Disclose means to disclose it. But the only way you discover it is if someone discloses it. So you're right in terms of how it actually operates. And so the point of the matter is that it gives the defendant in a criminal case the ability to be able to learn more about what they are charged with. For example, the defense can go and question the prosecution's witnesses. They can discover evidence that is held in possession of the prosecution. And if it's determined that the prosecution withheld evidence, that is what we call exculpatory. Exculpatory. Did you ever hear that term before? Exculpatory? Yep. And exculpatory means that the prosecution holds evidence that favors the defense and must disclose that. And for them, if it's discovered that they withheld that information knowingly or should have released that information that came to them, then it could result in a mistrial, because it would deny the individual of due process. Okay. Now, equal protection of the law means that on its face, the term should definitely say what it means. It means that everybody should be treated equally under the law. If you've seen the scales of justice, the statute of Lady Justice, she's blindfolded and she's holding the scales, and she has a sword in the other hand. I always tell people you have to be careful messing with her, because she'll take that sword and stick you, you know. But the point of the matter is that the eyes and ears of justice, Lady Justice, are the individuals in the system, particularly the triers of fact. And so the key thing is that individuals should be treated equally and not be discriminated on the basis of race, religion, sex, national origin. You will probably recognize the fact that the equal protection laws, the basis for which the civil rights laws have come out to give people protection. And you should also be aware of the fact that the 14th Amendment took all of the amendments, and applied them to the states, so that not only do you, it says why it says no state shall make or enforce laws which abridge the privileges and immunities of the citizens of the United States. Prior to the 14th Amendment, it did not apply to states. It applied only in federal court, but now it applies in state courts as well, in all state jurisdictions. So we talk about jury selection and picking jurors, which is a hallmark of which I had to spend a lot of time participating in this process called voir dire, VOIRDIRE, yes. And it means to seek the truth. That's what it means. And what it is we question the jurors to determine their positions on a case. And what we're doing is attempting to come up with what we call fair and impartial jurors. And so we can, during that process, use something that we call peremptory or preemptory. It's preemptory, but we always call them preemptory challenges, to remove jurors for any reasons. And they can be used. You get so many. I've forgotten how many we had when I was practicing, because it's been a while. But I think it was 5 or 6. It wasn't 10. I know that much. And we could remove jurors for any reason. Otherwise, the way that you get them off the jury is for cause. Like, for example, if the juror says that, you know, they will not be able to be fair and impartial, that kind of thing. So, but with peremptory challenges, we don't have to state a reason why we want them to go. However, the Baston motion, which can be filed based on the 86 case of Baston versus Kentucky, said that a juror cannot be removed from service solely on their race. And if a lawyer believes that the other side is stacking the jury solely based on race, then the other side can file a Batson motion. I don't think I ever had to do that in any of my cases, but I do know friends who have in federal court who had to do it. And so and so what we really do is we look for somebody who may not take our position or side, and we try, yeah, race is part of it. I don't care what you say, but it said, remember, if solely based on race, then you have a Batson motion. So that's why juries should be made up of a mixture, as you can tell from the Floyd case, if you know the makeup of the Floyd case. The main holding regarding the Batson case lays out what I've been saying, is that the equal protection principles are applied to determine whether there is discrimination in selecting the veneer. The veneer is what we call the panel of jurors, and governs the use of how states use peremptory challenges to strike individuals from what we call petit jury. By the way, that's just a jury. Although the prosecution ordinarily is entitled to exercise peremptory challenge for any reason, as long as that reason is related to his view or her view concerning the outcome of the case to be tried, the Equal Protection Clause does forbid the prosecutor from challenging jurors solely on the basis of race, on the assumption that black jurors will be unable to consider the state's case against a black defendant. So, so it's commonly objected to when the prosecution tries to eliminate black jurors and when there's a black defendant. However, it has. So we're still waiting on the courts to give us the same thing when it comes to taking a person off because of age, gender, or religion. With the laws having changed, there has to be a case that comes before the Supreme Court that would, like Batson, that would do that. And we haven't seen any as I'm speaking to you right now. Okay. So now let's talk about overall discrimination in criminal justice. And it's, we start with this racial profiling issue. As you know, statistics demonstrate that racial profiling is very, very, very prevalent in our country, and that it actually ends up resulting in how some individuals in law enforcement reach a conclusion about, I'm going to use African American males because I know how that works, and it extends to incarceration statistics that go up, and or deaths, to believe. And I'm going to tell you something. I went to a seminar that was done by this organization right here. Put the whole thing up so I think you can see it. The Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police. And there was a seminar I went to where they were talking about race and arrests. And there was a Caucasian police officer that I had a chance to, question, because he said that he believed that black males were inherently violent. This is a police officer. This is a man carrying a gun. And he was a police officer from my neighborhood, but he didn't know me. The point of the matter is, I said, why is that? He says, because it's been demonstrated, based on, look at the violence that happens. But you can't do that and be a police officer or a law enforcement officer. That's why we got some of the problems we got right now. This is real racial profiling. I was actually stopped in my same neighborhood because I was jogging in my neighborhood. Guy didn't read my t-shirt that I had on. It said Northwest University School of Law. Well, I guess he did, because the police officer, I was jogging and he turned, made a U-turn, went past me. and came back around. When he came back around, he says, excuse me. I said, yes. He says, "You from around here?" I said, now this happened about 3 years ago, 2015. So it was more than that. And I said, yes, I'm from around here. I have a house. And I told him where I lived. He said, oh, that's where a lot of judges and lawyers live. I said, you see my shirt? He says, oh, I see that. He says, oh, I just thought maybe you were wearing a shirt that, you know, you had gotten from somebody else. This was the conversation. That sounds incredible, but that's really, I'm telling you, yeah, wow is right. I was talking about this in the diversity and inclusion committee, which I'm a part of at Rasmussen and doing a conference. And so he said, I just stopped you because I didn't know you. I said, so you know everybody from around here? I said, obviously you don't, because I've been living here um, almost a year. But in our community, just being honest, there was only a handful of blacks that lived in that area. But I was living in the area where the lawyers and the judges, I gave him the street address and everything. And that's when he said, wait a minute, that's where lawyers and judges live. He's talking to me. How do you think I felt? I wasn't upset. I was told him, I said, you know, you need to fix that. So anyway, um, uh, that's some serious stuff. Another time, my two sons were going to the store around the corner and got stopped by the police. And I asked them a series of questions. So they called me on the phone and I came up there. And I had my business cards with me. And I said, what's up? And they said, well, these two young men were running. I said, okay. One had his hat on backwards. I said, okay, come on. So I said, don't insult me with this. I've been with this. I said, here, this is what I do for a living. And I gave him my business card. And he looked at it. I says, I teach people like you to be ethical, professional, and educated. I let them have it. But I'm just telling you, so I'm not just talking, you know, stuff. I'm not playing the race card. I'm just telling you my experiences, you know. Yep. Yeah, you got that right. But the point of the matter is that uh, it needs to be fixed. And that's my commitment to teaching, is to deal with that. But racial profiling results in incarceration and deaths that should not take place. And the numbers are too astronomical for me to go over, but I go on and name Orlando Castile. I can go on down George Scott. I can go on down the line. But most recently, George Floyd, and now this young man, last name Wright, kid up in Wisconsin. Anyway, look at the statistics. Says this is as of 2010. Um, Whites represent 44% of jail inmates, blacks 38%, and Hispanics 16%. I don't know what jails they went to, but I've been to some major jails. I'm talking about prisons. And those were not the numbers that I saw. So I don't know what that's all about. So the bottom line is that maybe they need to update their statistics. I think it's what, 2021. I think we need to fix at least about 20. We should be using 2020 and then uh, get those brought up to date. So that was in 2010. Yeah, jail in Norway. You got that right. So, but anyway, a survey of 40 urban countries across the United States in 1998, 62% of the juvenile felony defendants were black, 20% were black, white, 16 Hispanic and 2% were other. That's more accurate and more reflective. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, a survey done in local police departments across the country, it was found that 1 in 4 officers were members of racial or ethnic minority. That's why, it's important that I explain to people that people be able to relate. And I'm not saying that white officers can't communicate with black people in the community, but there needs to be some sensitivity, like those dudes I was talking about earlier. But unfortunately, those dudes are representative of too many that I've seen. Um, According to the Bureau of Statistics, oh, okay, I did that one. And data collected from the federal law enforcement agencies, only, listen to this, 33% of federal officers, this is on the federal level, were members of a racial or ethnic minority. This included 17.7, which were Hispanic or Latino, 11.4 were Black or African American. In 2002, racial or ethnic minority officers comprised 32.4% of federal officers. I think those numbers are up now, but the point of the matter is, all that's really saying is that it needs to be done properly across the board. I can tell you that when I was in high school, going back to 1967, 68, I graduated in 69. But in about 67, 68, I applied to the FBI to be an FBI agent. That's what I was going to do. And I was rejected. And one of my classmates, who happened to be Caucasian, he got accepted. Well, I went on about my life. And then 10 years later or so, actually longer than that, because I graduated from law school. Yeah, it was about 9 years later, 78, 77. I graduated in 78 from law school. So that was like 69 when I graduated. I got a letter from the FBI apologizing for me being rejected, and they said the reason that you were rejected, and this is what they said, is because you were Black. I said, I know that. But guess what? They were rejecting all males and females who were Black, all males and females who were Hispanic, all males and females who were other minorities, and all females, regardless of race. You know who was behind that? The late, great J. Edgar Hoover, who was the head of the FBI. That was his doing. That was his doing. So we've come a long ways with that. I got a lot of friends who are FBI agents that are various cultures and races. And we're just about done. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, the racial disparity for judges across the nation is extreme. In 2004 in Wisconsin, there were 240 circuit court judges, 229 of which were white, and only 6 of which were African American, and 3 were Hispanic or Latino. Of course, that has also changed as well. When I first started practicing law in 1978, I went to many courts in suburban areas, communities where I represented people, and I wasn't looked at as being a lawyer. For example, I remember one time I represented a client, and he was a businessman, and he was Caucasian, and we went to a suburban court where he had a DUI, driving under the influence. And so anyway, the case was called, and I stood up with him, and I said, "Your Honor," judge says, "Stop talking, let your attorney speak." He said that to me. I said, "Your Honor," he said, "that's the last time I'm going to tell you." I said, "Okay." My client's name was Charles. I said, "Charlie, tell him." So he told the judge, he said, "Your Honor," he said, "Yes, counsel." He said, "No, he's my lawyer." Man, that I could have bought him for 1 penny. His face turned so many colors. And then he got me out of there. He says, let's have a sidebar, discuss right away. Man, my client got off real quick and they got rid of me and I left there. But I laughed about that, you know. Yeah, but it was like, people shouldn't, judge a book by its cover, shouldn't assume, but anyway, unfortunately, that results in discrimination. Just like the same thing is happening today with women. They're assumed that sometimes if a man is there and a woman is standing there, that the man is the attorney and that the woman is the defendant. So, but I'm just telling you, it's all up here, people. So anyway, we're fixing that in my classes anyway. I haven't had one student yet that I've seen on the news, and I better not. Then I'll go have to see them, particularly if they're up in Minnesota. Uh, so anyway, it's important to examine the demographic makeups of prisoner, law enforcers, and judiciary because it helps us to deal with more parity in our justice system. And so that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. Any questions? Okay, I will do this. Stop sharing. Um, yeah, I give good stories because they're based on helping people to understand why I am the way I am. And like I said again, read my story, and you'll learn a lot about me. Um, Suggestion for the key word or phrase. See what you come up with, Amanda. What do you think? Type it in the chat box. I'll see it. I'll give you one shot at it. No, that's it. Equal protection. That's it. Give me that. Do what I showed you how to get your points, and you got it. Okay? Anything else? Well, nothing else. Uh, I will adjourn for the night. You guys enjoy your week. Stay safe. Hey, I'm all done. When I say I'm all done, I got my shots. If you're a friend of mine on Facebook, and you can do that by going to Richard Wright JD, send me a friend request and I'll accept it. Um, you will see a lot about me, but I posted in there that I took my shot, my second shot of Moderna. Man, my shoulder was sore. I took it Sunday and it was sore yesterday and it was sore earlier today, but now it's fine. It's all good. But most important is that you know, so most important is that I in 2 weeks from Sunday, it'll all kick in. So I'll still continue wearing my mask and social distance because everybody's not doing it. I'm not making nobody, but I do encourage people. So, hey, you all heard the thing about J&J uh, today, I guess. Don't let that alarm you. Uh, 6 people out of so many millions took it and had a blood clot reaction. Um, my wife took that and she's fine. So, but anyway, take care of yourself. That's all I can say. Listen to the doctors and the science, and don't let people, you know, give you the story about, oh no, you don't take that because, you know. But and then I have people that, and I have to say this out of fact that and people's beliefs. I know people who are of certain beliefs don't believe in doctors. I tell them, I says, Luke was a physician. That's all I say, you know. But no, my deal is take care of yourself. I have had too many students since COVID has, and you know too many people who have died. I have had people in my family to pass. So, all right, guys, see you next week, same time. Um, you know how to reach me if you have any questions or concerns, and I'll see you next week. Good night.